I've always been a maker. First, of course, things like tree houses and zip lines, and eventually it turned more into rockets and explosives. I always had my projects, but they weren't very useful. That really changed when I found this problem. My name is Boyan Slat, and this is how I changed the world. When I was 16 years old, I was scuba diving in Greece and I saw more plastic bags than fish, and I wondered, why can't we just clean this up? As a high school science project, I chose to into this problem and why everyone told me it would be impossible to clean up. I then enrolled at the University of Delft, started studying aerospace engineering. And at some point in time, I had to make the choice, am I going to fully focus on the university right now or on this cleanup project? And I thought, well, it's a high-risk project, but if you don't try, there's zero chance for this to happen. When I made the decision to drop out, my parents questioned me about it. I think I had some good arguments. I think I'm thankful that they let me choose a more unconventional path. There was no money for this. I had 300 euros of pocket money saved up. I think all of that we just spent on the registration of foundation. And then I tried to do fundraising, and back then I really didn't know what I was doing. I wrote an email to a few hundred companies asking for sponsorship. I think only one replied, and that person said, well, this is a terrible idea, go back to school, this is rubbish, it's never going to work. So that wasn't a very successful fundraising attempt. But then fortunately, eventually we tried the crowdfunding, which was massively successful, and that then allowed us to get started. Nobody ever deployed a structure of this scale in the ocean aimed at collecting plastic. So the tricky thing was that we had to find out how to do this along the way. My observation has been that bad ideas usually get more complicated over time, while good ideas get simpler over time. The original idea was, while the seabed doesn't move, while the water at the surface moves, we can use this difference in speed to then collect the plastic. However, the forces on the system, because they were fixed to the seabed, were so fast that these anchor lines had to be extremely complicated. We had several hundred lines to the seabed in water 5 kilometers deep. The number of lines we used would be able to circumvent the globe. It just became more complicated the further we went solving that problem. The team wasn't positive about the chances of success. It was just really tough. It's not like software where you simply change a few lines of code. You're talking about big structures, hundreds of thousands of euros a piece, so if something goes wrong, it's really rather annoying. I remember the moment that I was convinced that we had to change. I believe it was actually 2 interns that were doing a master thesis that first suggested to go to a drifting design. Those cleanup systems gravitate towards those areas with the highest density of plastic. It was such a beautiful, simple principle. Within 5 minutes I was sold and said, let's pivot the design and let's go in this direction. After 5 long years of research and development and expeditions and prototypes, now finally this September we're launching the world's first ocean cleanup system. If we were to deploy a fleet of 60 of these cleanup systems, we expect to be able to clean up half this Great Pacific garbage patch every 5 years. Once those cleanup systems are out there, we want them to be able to pay for themselves. So we take the plastic out, we bring it to land, and we turn it back into high-quality, desirable products that people can buy, and with that, they will be able to fund the cleanup. To be able to pull off a project like this, I think one of the most important things is that you have to be really obsessive and passionate about what you do. You will have to commit for the next 5 or 10 years, this being basically the only thing you're doing for that period of time. If you're not truly obsessed, it's not going to happen.